Sweeping her eyes over by Ruo Qi's proud smile, Huang Yuli sneered inside. In the end, no matter what drug was used, the result will be the same. Just by those little schemes of Bai Ruo Qi's. Did she really plan to fool her? She could not blame her for not biting the bait. Just as the Bai Ruo Qi's nails dipped inside the cup, Huang Yuli unconsciously glanced towards her right. Suddenly showing a shocked look, she exclaimed, "Ah, this is His Royal Highness the Crown Prince?" Hand flicking away, Bai Ruo Qi almost knocked over the cup on the table. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince? Why would His Royal Highness come at such a time? If the Crown Prince is here, then she cannot give this little slut medicine in his presence. Otherwise, if the powerful Crown Prince saw through her tricks, her ladylike would be shattered. Bai Ruo Qi looked back in panic and became surprised. No one? In the peach blossom orchid, there were only petals billowing in the wind. What Royal Highness Crown Prince? Realized that she had been played, she turned around to angrily glare at Huang Yuli. You dare fool me? Huang Yuli, on the other hand, took advantage of her momentarily stupor to rearrange the positions of the two cups. At this point, she stared into her eyes with a face more innocent than a deer. I was wrong, I did not mean to do that. I just saw a silhouette which resembled His Royal Highness Prince a lot. Second sister, why are you this fierce? Did you not say that you wished to make up with me? Though Bai Ruo Qi's anger had burst out after listening to this statement, she had to immediately rein in her anger. This nearly caused her to suffer internal injuries. Yes, her goal was to get this dead girl to drink the drug. She could not rip that face of hers. She must continue to deceive her. A little moments of disturbance will affect the greater plan. Forbearance. Bai Ruo Qi took a deep breath and lightly laughed. You made a mistake. When was I fierce? Second sister is sincere in reconciling with you. Come, third sister, let us down this cup of wine. As she said this, she personally picked up one of the cups and delivered it to Huang Yuli. With a faint smile, Huang Yuli took the cup. Since second sister has said so, if I continue to put on airs, it will be my fault. Even though, second sister, you often whip me, grab my things while pouring dirty water on me outside. As we are cousins, I can only choose to forgive. Green was Bai Ruo Qi's face. If you don't care, why must you say something like this before so many people? The ice beauty Bai Ruo Qi would not only whip her own cousin, but also take her things? Whether it was true or false, to hear such gossip, many ears became alert. Whispering, they talkatively conversed amongst themselves. Bai Ruo Qi was dying to seal Huang Yuli's lips. Fortunately, this dead girl was moving the cup to her mouth. The moment the liquor touched her lips, Huang Yuli suddenly stopped moving, moved the cup away. This nearly caused Bai Ruo Qi to jump up from anxiety. Why do you not drink? Could it be her schemes were seen through by this stinking girl? That was impossible, for a waste like her. How could she possibly see through her tactics? Seemingly oblivious to her anxious looks, Huang Yuli innocently said, Second sister, I suddenly remembered something. Did we not say that we would drink all of it? We forgot to touch cups. Oh, yes, cheers. Relieved Bai Ruo Qi dryly laughs. That's right, look at my memory. You can also listen on. As the two glasses met, it created a loud clinking sound. Slender fingers around the cup, Huang Yuli once again put it to her mouth. Staring at her movements, Bai Ruo Qi could not wait to see the wine pour down her throat. Silently in her heart, she chanted, Drink faster, drink faster, drink faster. However, just as Huang Yuli was about to take the first sip, the cup stopped at her lips again. Second sister. What do you want to do? Bai Ruo Qi's breathing was hurried. Always at the last moment, playing her. Huang Yuli smiled profoundly. Second sister, you also need a drink, ah? How can I drink alone? Oh well, I will drink. Don't hold back any courtesies, and quickly drink it. Hell-bent in coaxing Huang Yu to drink, Bai Ruo Qi did not even realize that her own wine cup contained the drugged liquor. In order to encourage Huang Yu, without hesitation, she gulped down the wine. Looking up after the wine was drunk, she stared at the Huang Yuli with a hungry gaze. Huang Yuli should hold no more doubts if she drank it first. mostly likely if she did not drink soon. Bai Ruoqi personally come up and force it down. This time, she finally lifted the cup and drank the wine inside. With her goal complete, Bai Ruoqi finally released a long breath of relief, her heart beating in satisfaction. This little slut, since she drank this cup of wine today, there will be a good show to watch. Not only will she be unable to marry the crown prince, she would not be able to able for the rest of her life. This truly made her happy. Who allowed this little slut to provoke her head? She deserved it. As the two sisters finished reconciling, they did not leave. Instead, they joined second Miss Chi's group, chatting about various tidbits and gossip with them. Due to Bai Ruoqi's high standing, she rarely associated with young ladies who did not match her status. So for her to be this amicable, laughing with them, truly made second Miss Chi flattered. Only Huang Yuli knew her sister was waiting to see her make a fool of herself. I'm afraid that is but of a dream of yours, Bai Ruoqi. Today you are using a rock to smash your own feet. But in the end, even Huang Yuli could not figure out what tricks Bai Ruoqi was playing. Under these watchful eyes, did she really intend to poison her? Or could it be a medicine of some kind? Quite some time passed by. Bai Ruoqi's patience was wearing thin, dealing with these young ladies. She did not know why. Huang Yuli continued to sit there perfectly fine with no reaction. When the man or madam gave her the powder, she informed her that the time it took for the medicine to show effect depends largely on the cultivation of the person. It will take a long time for a practitioner, but for the average person, there will be a response in the time it takes to brew tea. Half an hour has already passed. Even a practitioner at the 9th level of the Qi profound realm will have a reaction. Why did that trash show no symptoms? Powder couldn't have lost its effectiveness, right? Bai Ruoqi slightly frowned, doubt sprouting in her heart. At this moment, she suddenly felt a sharp pain in her abdomen. Caught off guard, she couldn't help but cry out loudly. Sweat forming on her forehead, she curled whilst clutching her stomach. Second sister, what is the matter? Second Miss Bai, what happened? Are you sick? I suddenly have a stomachache. Bai Ruoqi gritted her teeth, not understanding what was happening. You can also listen on. Could it be food poisoning? However, from morning till now, she had only eaten a few snacks from the palace. Could it be the palace food that was unclean? At this moment, a loud exclamation could be heard. Blood, a lot of blood. My God, second young Miss Bai is bleeding. Bleeding quite a lot, This is horrible. Quickly go and fetch for the imperial doctor. The various young ladies screamed and panicked. Blankly, Bai Ruoqi lowered her head, only to see her lower body covered in a glaring pool of red blood. Realizing that she was not only bleeding, but in large amounts too. Her entire skirt was drenched in blood as the pungent taste of blood lingered in the air. Eyes turning black, she only felt the world turn white and fainted. Witnessing this scene, even Huang Yuli was shocked. She did not think the result of Bai Ruoqi's drug would be bleeding from the lower abdomen. To achieve this effect was very easy. From Huang Yuli's knowledge, there are several herbs that could easily obtain this effect, making a woman bleed excessively. If the dosage is large enough, it would be just like the menstrual period. This medicine is very vicious, because to women, this was very harming on the body. If one is pregnant, then they will certainly lose the child once they took this medicine. Even if they are not pregnant, they will still suffer heavy injuries. Worst case scenario, it may lead to infertility. Of course, this is for common people. Towards cultivators, the impact is much smaller, for it will be easy to recover from their cultivation, nursing back to full health. However, why did Bai Ruoqi give her this medicine? Hearing the screams of the young girls, the female officers who were overlooking them came to investigate. Immediately, they sent someone to fetch the court doctor. Bai Ruoqi was carried to the side. This unexpected accident caused quite a stir. Thinking, Huang Yuli thoughtfully moved to the side, hearing quite a few whisperings in the process. What has happened to second Miss Bai? Not even knowing it was her own period time? For it to even occur in the palace. Such a joke. But fortunately, it is not at the Empress Dowager's banquet. Otherwise, she still dreams of becoming the imperial concubine? Period? I think it's not that simple. Why? whose period would occur in such large amounts when it begins. Did you not see? The red stain on her skirt was such a big one, and she actually fainted, still to awaken. For a talented cultivator, how can she so delicate? What do you mean? Do you mean what's inside? Is there unspeakable? Hey, I said nothing. Everyone should be aware. All kinds of gloating tones spewed forth came. Huang Yuli's face revealed a trace of color. So it was like this. Bai Ruoqi's was aiming for such an outcome. Her powder was merely a blood-stimulating medicine. Once you drink the mix, not only will your lower body begin to bleed, but you will also faint on the spot. For an unmarried girl to suddenly start bleeding without cause, but also faint, it will be easy to think something was tarnishing their reputation. Since Bai Ruoqi had spread the rumor of her eloping with a man in private a month earlier, the two situations will make a perfect combination. To anyone, they would guess that she had lost her virginity long ago and falling pregnant too. This kind of scandal is already quite deplorable during ordinary times. But now, it occurred in the Empress Dowager's Peach Blossom Banquet. You can also listen on. If she were to carry charges of a potential pregnancy whilst single, her reputation would really sweep the ground. Not only would she lose face for the Empress Dowager, God knows how angry she will become once she learns of the news. No matter how distinguished Bai Ruoqi's father was, she could no longer hold her head up in this life. One couldn't deny how intricate and interlocking Bai Ruoqi's plot was this time. Not only did exploit the people, location, and time, the whole dug was very deep and complex. Really too nice. Huang Yuli could not help but give a round of applause. Unfortunately, although this pit was dug beautifully, the victim was Bai Ruoqi herself. After a while, Bai Ruoqi quietly moaned and awoke from her coma. Huang Yuli was the first to walk over. With a face full of anxiety, like a sincere sister, she asked about her dear sister's condition. Second sister, you're finally awake. Are you okay? How did you faint? And where do you feel uncomfortable? If Bai Ruoqi still felt dizzy, she immediately snapped awake at Huang Yuli's voice. Waves of memories suddenly flooded into her mind. Soon, she came to understand that she must have been the one who drank the drugged glass of wine. Not only did her lower body start bleeding, she also fainted. However, she remembered quite clearly to take the correct cup. What had gone wrong? This little slut was definitely culprit. Yet she still insisted to play the role of the good little sister. Teeth itching, Bai Ruoqi stared fiercely at the girls in front of her, wishing she could beat her at that instant. However, she could not lash out at such a time, or the truth of the medicine will be exposed. The unfortunate one was herself, so she could only look at Huang Yuli's pretentiousness. She gritting her teeth. I'm fine, third sister. Thank you for your concern. Looking relieved, Huang Yuli said, That's good. Just then when we saw second sister experiencing such an accident, perhaps, bleeding so much, we were afraid it will be life-threatening. It really scared me. How could Bai Qi did not understand what she truly meant? Moreover, the discussions around had also reached her ears. This result was what she expected. So naturally, she knew how easy to misunderstand her symptoms are. She must be in front of everyone explain clearly. Otherwise, her reputation will be destroyed. Thinking to this point, Bai Ruoqi struggled to sit up. But the effects of that powder were too strong. Still feeling dizzy, her body could not respond. Huang Yuli held her hand out. Second sister, you need to lie down to rest. What are you doing? Bai Ruoqi really wanted her to scram, along with that hypocritical smile. In her eyes, it was incomparably stifling. But just as fate may be, Huang Yuli was her blood-related cousin. In the presence of others, their relationship must appear amicable. So when she came to assist her, it was impossible to leave her like this. She must play out the role of a good younger sister. I want to see the court doctor. Bai Ruoqi coughed out a sentence. Huang Yuli replied, Do not worry. The female officers have already called for a court doctor. After hearing this, Bai Ruoqi was relieved. She had long colluded with the court Dr. Liu of the imperial physicians. Originally, it was intended to trap Huang Yuli. Although she was surprised at the turn in events, she could, as long as Court Dr. Liu could come, he could help her cover this matter up. Court Dr. Liu is one of the best doctors in the palace. No one will doubt his diagnosis. He just need to make up a diagnosis along the lines of an irregular menstrual occurrence to seal the mouths of these people. Afterwards, the affair will be easily dealt with. You can also listen on. By Ruo, she eagerly awaited Dr. Liu's arrival, so she did not notice Huang Yuli's smile. Not long after, Court Dr. Liu reached the peach blossom orchid. Bai Ruo Qi hurriedly said, "Hurry and ask Dr. Liu to come over. I want Wu." Halfway through her sentence, she suddenly discovered she could not make a sound and stared out in astonishment. Huang Yuli calmly recovered her hand, placed it on her chest, before laughing. "Second sister, what's the matter? Seeing that you are sweating so much, allow me to wipe it for you. Does it not feel comfortable?" Bai Ruo Qi glared at her murderously. To others, they only saw her good sister act of kindly wiping her sister's sweat. How would they know Huang Yuli had just sealed her meridians to make her mute? Due her poisoning, Bai Ruo Qi was left in a weak state. So with Huang Yuli's move, she could not undo the seal. Huang Yu sweetly smiled. "Second sister, I understand you, I understand. You have no more strength left in you. Rest assured, with your younger sister here, I will not let you suffer." Bai Ruo Qi almost split her side. With her here, she was suffering misfortune from 8 lives. In the end, what did this damn girl want to do? Leading the female official, Huang Yuli whispered to her, "Guguli, I am truly sorry. As you know, my elder sister, my second sister's affairs, is a woman's problems. And because she is a very delicate woman, she is embarrassed for the court doctor to examine her. After all, Dr. Liu is a man. The female official was actually quite understanding, for the palace held quite a few princess concubines who did not like the doctors see such problems. They just felt weird. She immediately replied, "This is easy. Let the doctor diagnose through a silk handkerchief. Dr. Liu is a superb doctor. He does not need to see the patient's face in order to make a diagnosis. Please rest assured, young Miss Bai." Bai Ruo Qi did not know what Huang Yuli said. She waited for a moment, but failed to see Dr. Liu. Instead, it was her cousin who placed a handkerchief on her face and another on her wrist. Sitting outside the bead curtain with a concentrated gaze, he held on the covered sleeve and carefully examined. Bai Ruo Qi immediately understood that it was a diagnosis through a sleeve. This is a common practice in the palace, not something surprising. However, she must let Dr. Liu see her face. Otherwise, Dr. Liu would certainly not expect with was Bai Ruo Qi who was poisoned. He must have thought that the person this lying in bed, Wu Wei Manor's third young Mississippi. As a result, Dr. Liu will certainly act in accordance with their prior plan, framing her with an accidental miscarriage. Think to hear, Bai Ruo Qi suddenly panicked. She tried very hard to get out of bed and desperately attempted to speak. However, she did not know why the drug's potency was so strong. No matter how she struggled, she could not climb up and could not unable to the mute seal on her. Huang Yuli sat by the bed, a look of worry as she held her down. "You must lie down. Do not affect Dr. Liu's examination. Dr. Liu is an expert and a leading figure in Southview, so he will definitely be able to find the cause. Find out what cause." If she allowed Dr. Liu to speak his diagnosis, what would she do? She could no longer conduct herself. Bai Ruo Qi was both angry and anxious, but how could not get rid of Huang Yuli left with no choice? She could only make noises to catch Dr. Liu's attention. You can also listen on. Outside the curtain, Dr. Liu sat upright. Of course, he heard the whispers and the noises of shuffling, but he chose to ignore them. Because Dr. Liu has long ago colluded with Wu Wei Manor's madam, knew what he needed to do was a very wicked thing. Inside the curtain, naturally was third young Miss White, who was a virgin young girl, yet she was to be accused of being pregnant while unmarried. Of course, many would jump at such news, as long as he pretended not to hear or see, only focusing on how he will deliver the appropriate diagnostic results. Wu Wei Manor Madam promised to give him a hefty reward. so easily it will enter into his hands. Gently stroking his beard, he felt so relaxed and carefree inside. He did not intend to feel any pulse, but only pretended to ponder for a moment with a dignified expression. Goo-goo-lee, this girl, walking over, and Goo-goo lowered her voice. What's wrong with Dr. Liu? The girl's pulse? Dr. Liu hesitantly replied. This may also be due to anemia, or it could be diagnostic mistakes. However, the one inside the curtains is in her heart. Goo-goo-lee had long suspected the outcome, but when she heard him speak with a look of embarrassment, she immediately knew the truth. She is the Empress Dowager's personal maid who was sent to observe and supervise these golden-spooned young ladies. If there was scandal with a young lady who no longer was a virgin, it will be a matter of major importance. So she must find out. With a sinking face and an aggravating the tone, she said, Dr. Liu, don't mind about others. Please tell me, what is this girl's illness? Why did she suddenly bleed and faint? As long as you explain truthfully, it will be fine. Feeling that he was acting quite well, Dr. Liu felt he deserved that reward. He sighed deeply and whispered to Goo-goo-lee. Goo-goo-lee, I cannot hide this from you. This is a joyous pulse. She has conceived, but due to the body's weak health, the pregnancy is unstable. There is a chance of miscarriage at any time. By your judgment, what prescription should be given? He stopped talking at that moment. There was no need to speak too explicitly. When ladies are pregnant, it is natural to prescribe medicine. These prescriptions come in two kinds, one for protection against miscarriage, the other for a miscarriage. Looking at her, he awaited her command. Goo-goo-lee frowned and said, Dr. Liu, are you sure this is a joyous pulse? There must be no mistake. Of course. Dr. Liu was patting his chest and said, Goo-goo-lee, do you still believe in my expertise? It is a joyous pulse, for certain. Furthermore, it is nearly 2 months old. Hearing this, Goo-goo-lee did not hold any more doubts. Looking pale, she darkly swept the shadow behind the bead curtain. Really, she did not expect at His Royal Highness the Crown Prince's imperial concubine selecting banquet that such a scandal would occur. Moreover, that the girl in question was the lady most likely to become His Highness imperial concubine. South Yu's most talented female, by Ruo Qi. This by Ruo Qi really is bold. Already walking the streets with the Crown Prince, and dared to give him such a green hat to wear. This is a great humiliation for the entire royal family. Although the voices of Goo-goo-lee and Dr. Liu were very soft, but they were only separated by a thin bead curtain. So by Ruo Qi and Huang Yuli heard everything. You can also listen on. Anxiously mad, by Ruo Qi wanted to shout out loudly. However, no matter how hard she tried, she could only let out a short breath of air. Laughing beside her, Huang Yuli sat by the bed and listened with great interest to Dr. Liu outside. Wow! Second sister, you didn't? Pregnancy before marriage? I really did not see it coming. You are so brave. Oh, since Dr. Liu is so good at his trade, he will certainly not be mistaken. If the Empress Dowager were to learn of this, how will you become the imperial concubine? When Huang Yuli heard Dr. Liu's diagnosis, a look of surprise appeared on her face. Clutching her chest, she nervously asked. Eyes red, by Ruo Qi furiously gnashed her teeth. The reason why she fell to this point, was it not due to this little slut? Yet she continued to act, ignoring her fierce eyes. Huang Yuli sweetly laughed. Second sister, why are you looking at me with such hatred? Sister, I'm so afraid. It's not like I told Dr. Liu to say that. Saying, she suddenly cried out in awe, realizing something. Second sister, I know your character. I believe you will not mess around. And you are certainly not pregnant. Someone must have set Dr. Liu up to frame you. This is too vicious. Sister, I will definitely help you curse them every day, hoping the son she gives birth to not be, and for her to marry an ugly, poor, and waste of a man. Not only this, but to also suffer domestic violence every day. Second sister, don't you agree? Let us curse her together. By Ruo Qi almost spat out blood. Plotting from behind the scenes? Wasn't that her? Not only did he lifted the stone, smash her own foot, And Huang Yuli also wanted her to curse herself? This damn girl is just too toxic. If things were really happened to how Huang Yuli cursed, she was better off dead. Bai Ruoqi tuned into the conversation outside. Dr. Liu was repeating all the things they had discussed in advance. Its purpose was to fully convince Gugu Li. So Huang Yuli will be beyond redemption. She knew better than anyone how lethal those words were. Now, this lethality was currently being shot to her own body. Gugu Li said, "Thank you, Dr. Liu. I must urgently convey this matter to Empress Dowager, and at that time, please also repeat your words to Her Highness. No matter what, you must not make a mistake." Court Dr. Liu solemnly nodded. Gugu Li, rest assured, I am very clear on what I need to do. I will not let Empress Dowager be hoodwinked. Well, Cui Qiao, go over to the Empress Dowagers to report this. Yes. Sending a maid to the Empress Dowagers. This step was also planned by Ruoqi with Dr. Liu. Once the incident involved the Empress Dowager, there would be no possibility of turning over a new leaf for the lady who lost her virginity before marriage. At that time, Ruoqi felt very clever. But now, she wished dearly for time to turn back, taking back the words she spoke with Dr. Liu. But it was too late. Accepting the order, Cui Qiao immediately left. Ruoqi's heart burned, but had no way to prevent any of this. Not long after, Cui Qiao came back to report. Gugu Li, once learning of this, the Empress Dowager flew into a big rage. She's personally coming over and is about to arrive soon. She said that it is necessary for her to personally dispose of young Miss Bai in the presence of the various young ladies, allowing them all to see what will happen to someone who dared to do such a shameful thing. Ruoqi was covered in cold sweat. It was at this moment that the eunuch's shouts sounded from far away. The Empress Dowager, I ask of all the young ladies to start kneeling. You can also listen on. Saying this, her eyes made a lap within the crowd, as she wanted to exchange a look with Ruoqi. How was she to know that no matter how many times she looked, she failed to find anyone? Slightly frowning, Empress Shu felt something was amiss. The things Ruoqi was going to do in the palace today, the madam had mentioned a few words to her, asking her to fan the flames at the key moment in the presence of the Empress Dowager, ensuring the complete suppression and eradication of Huang Yuli. It was nothing more than a few words, nothing difficult to do. Since Empress Shu had always been quite close with her sister during childhood, naturally she agreed to such a task. Therefore, since the moment she arrived at the Empress Dowager's Palace of Compassion and Tranquility, she had been waiting for Ruoqi's good news. Originally, she was a bit worried that Ruoqi would not be able to find the opportunity to use the medicine or be discovered. The results proved otherwise. Though that girl was young, she could still get things done. It wasn't until noon that Gugu Li sent someone to report to the Empress Dowager that someone had fainted in the palace due to a miscarriage. At this news, Empress Shu let out a sigh of relief. Knowing it was her time to appear, she followed the Empress Dowagers and rushed to the scene. You can also listen on. Empress Shu looked around, calling over a maid at the side of the palace. Strangely, she asked, "Where is second young Miss Bai? Why is she not here?" The palace maid looked at her, then looked at the Empress Dowager, speaking but then hesitating. Second Miss Bai, what happened? What happened to Cheer? Yes, why is Cheer not here? Is it because she is looking after her sister? Even the Empress Dowager questioned. When Cui Qiao reported to them, she only said it was Wu Wei Manor's young Mississippi. Both Empress and the Empress Dowager naturally assumed that the protagonist of this scandal was third young Miss Bai. This was due to the rumors they had heard regarding her associations with outsiders, and a wastrel that was not properly raised by a mother and father. It would not be unusual for such a thing to happen, but Ruoqi was not the same. In everybody's mind, she is the perfect example of a lady. The palace lady did not dare answer, while the various young ladies seated below also held unusual expressions. Empress Shu frowned, wanting to ask again. At this moment, Gugu Li had already dragged a haggard and hobbling girl out of the room. Cheer, why is it you? eyes opening wide. Empress Shu immediately exclaimed aloud. Bai Ruo Qi blinked her eyes. 2 lines of tears shed from the corners of her eyes. The more emotional she became, the more she cried and choked as she clutched her throat. She was still unable to speak. What happened? Cheer. Why do you not speak? Agitated. When Empress Shu saw her, she immediately understood that things did not go as planned. Bai Ruo Qi had drunk her own medicine. Bai Ruo Qi gestured desperately, pointing to her throat. Empress Shu hurriedly shouted, Dr. Lu, what is going on? Why is second young Miss Bai unable to talk? Hurry and examine her. If you cannot treat her, you will be questioned. The moment Dr. Lu saw the person inside the curtains, he was also shocked. What is going on? Did they not say they were going to frame third young Miss Bai? Why did the person behind the curtains become second young Miss Bai? Why did such up happen? Then he remembered how resolutely he announced that the lady possessed the joyous pulse. Oh my God! The great flood washed away the Dragon King's temple. What should he do now? Prompted by Empress Shu, Dr. Lu quickly rushed over to Bai Ruo Qi. The Empress Dowager was initially shocked, then doubts began to arise. What is going on? Can anybody explain the situation? Do you mean to say that such a shameful thing was actually done by our beloved Qi? How can this be? Empress Shu stepped forward to comfort the Empress Dowager. Your Highness, please calm your anger. This concubine watched Qi grow up. I believe she will not make such a mistake. There must some kind of misunderstanding. The Empress also do not want to believe that the daughter-in-law candidate she had been so optimistic about would turn out to be such a person. Well, then we will wait for Dr. Lu to cure Qi and listen to her stories. Dr. Lu did not speak for a long time. What was wrong with Bai Ruo Qi? No one knew more clearly than him. He did not need to feel her pulse to diagnose what was wrong. He did not know why her meridians were sealed, but this is not something difficult to cure. As long as she takes a first-grade upper-level Qi recovering pill, she would be able to recover. However, he did not know what he should do at that moment. With the situation escalating to such a degree, Bai Ruo Qi will definitely want to wash herself clean. But if Bai Ruo Qi wanted to prove she was not pregnant, it would implicate him, meaning the person in the wrong would be him, the court doctor. This would also mean he had diagnosed second Miss Bai incorrectly. You can also listen on. Dr. Lu was hesitant, stalling for time as he refused to say his diagnosis was incorrect. Becoming impatient, the Empress Dowager frostily said, What is going on? Dr. Lu, can you not cure it? Then this Empress will ask for another court doctor. Cold sweat appeared on Dr. Lu. If another court doctor was requested, he would be able to tell what tricks he was up to with one glance. However, if no doctor was invited, he will have to heal Bai Ruo Qi, and if Bai Ruo Qi recovered her ability to speak, she will bite him back. He was in a dilemma, countless grievances in his heart. He lamented and wondered why he took such a hot potato in a muddled-headed moment. Sitting on the sidelines, Empress Shu understood a bit more. Walking to Bai Ruo Qi, she took out a bottle of pill from her sleeves. Pouring out several pills, she casually stuffed them into the mouth of Bai Ruo Qi. As a cultivator, she would carry bottles of blood recovering and Qi recovering pills on her body. And as an empress, the quality and effects were also very good. Bai Ruo Qi swallowed Qi recovering pills. When her sealed body suddenly received the supplements, she quickly broke through Huang Yuli's restrictions in one fell swoop. Throat itching, she cried out in off sound. Empress Shu said, What is going on here? The Empress Dowager is here. What do you have to explain for yourself? She signaled at Bai Ruo Qi with her eyes. In fact, even if Empress Shu did not give this hint, Bai Ruo Qi knew what to do. Arriving at this juncture, if she does not cut off this relationship, she would truly be ruined today. Of course, even now, her face had been lost all the way back to her grandmother's home. But she could only walk shamelessly down this path. Rather shame than to be identified as a loose woman. Biting her teeth, tears rushing down her. Bai Ruo Qi threw her whole body to the ground. Empress Dowager Qi is wronged. Qi absolutely did not do any inappropriate before marriage. Please, my 2 elders are smart. You must find justice for Qi. Usually she is already very good at acting. But today, she was definitely acting from the heart. Her plan reversed by Huang Yuli. She spewed 100 grievances from being framed. In the instant she saw Empress Shu, all her grievances and sadness came pouring out nonstop. Her tears water falling down. Is that so? The Empress Dowager thoughtfully looked at her. Voice cold, she asked. You keep saying that you are innocent, but Dr. Lu diagnosed you with a joyous pulse. How do you explain this? How can you prove that you are still pure in body? It can't be by Ruo Qi Shi. By Ruo Qi, really? At the Empress Dowager's questioning, the audience rose up in an uproar. Although by Ruo Qi collapsed, they still had their doubts. After all, this kind of thing is quite dubious. No one was convinced. They all thought they were overthinking. Could it be by Ruo Qi actually there? Although they could not openly talk about it in the presence of the two empresses, but they all exchanged private looks of shock and gloating eyes. Bai Ruoqi was just too high profile and unattainable. Although she displayed the appearance of politeness, but she conveyed a lofty and above others attitude that could not put anyone in her eyes. Coupled with her public displays of flirtations with the crown prince, she incited the jealousy of many. You can also listen on. Unfortunately, no matter how jealous they were, Bai Ruoqi had everything: talent, a good family, and superior cultivation. So no one could offend her. And everyone all expected her to become the imperial concubine, a princess. But such a scandal suddenly broke out. This made them laugh to death. As Bai Ruoqi listened to the whispered laughter around her, her face turned beet red. From infancy to now, never had she felt this much shame. Moreover, it was in front of so many generations of noble aristocracy. From young, she was the ruler of these aristocratic young ladies, existence of envy and a model for all of them. But now she had been reduced to a joke for them. Angry and anxious, Bai Ruoqi refused to take this and hurriedly explained herself loudly. Your Royal Highness, Empress Dowager, today, I only drank 1 cup of wine in the Peach Blossom Banquet. I did not expect to suddenly experience unbearable abdominal pain, and fainted from the pain. I thought it was just an irregular symptom that occurred. I did not expect Court Dr. Lu to arrive and say, I have the joyous pulse. I do not know what is going on, but I really have not done anything shameful. If you did not do anything, why did a joyous pulse appear? Guguli could not help but interrupt. Second young Miss Bai, are you implying that I have wronged you? No. This is definitely not related to Gugu Li. Bai Ruoqi was still sensible. She knew that Gugu Li was the Empress Dowager's person, someone who could not be offended. Eyes flickering back and forth, she steeled her heart and decided to sacrifice Court Dr. Lu. I do not know what is happening, but this is definitely a misdiagnosis. Court Dr. Lu, when you were examining, why did you not examine properly? Do you know what responsibilities you hold when you announce the joyous pulse? The Empress Dowager coldly swept gaze over Court Dr. Lu. Court Dr. Lu is the head doctor of the imperial physicians, examining countless court ladies. Is it possible for a diagnosis error to occur? Then he examined blindly. Face deathly pale, Dr. Lu did not know how to justify himself. He continued to knee on the ground and cried, Your Royal Highness, this official is definitely impartial to all affairs. How can I possibly misdiagnose? Second young Miss Bai truly has a joyous pulse. A trace of a poisonous streak flashed through Dr. Lu's eyes. It was obviously Bai Ruoqi who messed up the plan, drinking the wrong wine and causing such an accident. But to be free of the blame, she shifted the responsibility on his head. God knows what the punishment would be for a misdiagnosis. And when this is coupled the disastrous consequence of nearly affecting the concubine selecting process, he could no longer hold on to his position of head doctor. He could also be sent to the dungeons for punishment. Unfortunately, Bai Ruoqi did not care about him at all. Opening her mouth to directly proclaim a misdiagnosis, since she backstabbed first, she could not blame him for the 15 return strikes. You are spewing nonsense, refusing to admit to your misdiagnosis. insisting on sullying my good name. Second young Miss White, I do not dare. Since the joyous pulse has been discovered, you still wish to deny it. Each insisting on their claim, they argued in front of the Empress Dowager. Sitting in the last row, Huang Yuli watched the two quarrel in amusement. Inwardly, she commentated, "Gee, a dog biting a dog, a mouth full of fluff." Unfortunately, Dr. Lu mostly likely will not be able to out-argue by Rua Qi. Hi, unfortunate. Sure enough, Empress Shu stood up and said, "Your Highness, do not worry. Whether or not it is a misdiagnosis is very easy to judge. Just go to the Imperial Physician Institution and have a few doctors examine her pulse. Listen to what others have to say." Yes, Empress Shu speaks reasonably. When the Empress Dowager realized this point, she immediately commanded it. "Gugu Li, go right now and call all the doctors who are on duties. You can also listen on." Court Dr. Lu turned deathly pale. He desperately hoped that the Empress Dowager would avoid summoning other court doctors to verify this truth. When he was arguing with by Rua Qi, how was he to expect the intervention of Empress Shu? What should he do next? Just as Court Dr. Lu was at his wit's end, filled with cold sweat, an idea suddenly appeared in his mind. Just doing this, was it a bit too hard? However, who told by Rua Qi to frame him first? She could not blame him. Not long after, Gugu Li brought over someone people from the Imperial Physician Institution. Apart from the four court doctors, even the institution's vice heads had arrived, making a total of 6 people. The Empress Dowager commanded, "Take turns to check second young Miss Bai's pulse. Find the cause of her fainting." Yes, 2 doctors first walked up to complete their diagnosis. Not long afterwards, all 6 court doctors had completed their medical diagnosis. The Empress Dowager asked, "What problems have you found? Speak in succession." In the face of such an ugly scandal, all information is crucial. This royal will not be angry and punish anyone for speaking their mind. But if you were to talk nonsense, then do not blame AI Jia for being ruthless. Yes, please rest assured. This will not speak any useless drivel. The first court doctor to step out began his report first. "Your Highness, Empress Dowager, second young Miss Bai's illness is not complicated. She merely took a tonic with ferocious after-effects. This led to excessive blood flow from bursted meridians. This explains the bleeding. As for the issue of leucine consciousness, it may be anemia from the excessive bleeding." He paused and could not resist but to say a few more words. "This official really wants to advise second young Miss Bai. This medicine should not be eaten carelessly. Even though you martial practitioners have stronger immune systems, but taking too much of something will leave very bad after-effects. In worst-case scenarios, you will die." In other words, this is not a joyous pulse? Her Highness asked. "Joyous pulse?" The court doctor returned with a surprised look. "How? This pulse is too much different from a joyous pulse. Absolutely impossible to mistake this." Second young Miss Bai's symptoms, which unlearned doctor diagnosed her. From what school did he obtain his qualifications from? Who knows, it might be that very doctor you gave second young Miss Bai the medication. The Empress Dowager asked the remaining number of doctors, all saying something similar. As a result, the truth surfaced. Obviously, Bai Rua Qi was not pregnant. So the question of her lost virginity before marriage, there remained no more than baseless doubts. Relieved, Bai Rua Qi's face revealed a trace of a sneer. Her dark gaze swept over Huang Yuli's body. Fortunately, Empress Shu was present. Thankfully, she was quick-witted. Otherwise, this time, she would be killed by that little slut. More than that, she would not eat face down. She will ask for her good third sister when they returned. Aware of her gaze, Huang Yuli blinked and suddenly laughed. "Oh, my second sister, you didn't think that this was the end? So naive, scamming so many people. Yet you thought that this situation would end so easily?" Although Bai Rua Qi could not hear her murmurs, but she saw her laughter, and could not help but secretly wondering, what is this little slut laughing at? Does she still want to do something? No, that's impossible. As long as I proved my innocence, what could she do to me? At this moment, she heard the shaking voice of Court Dr. Lu. Your Highness, Empress Dowager, please do not be angry, This official deserves 10,000 deaths. But official also has his own difficulties. Your Highness, please give this official an opportunity to explain himself. You can also listen on. Before the Empress Dowager could speak, Empress Fei snapped out. Silence. Did you not hear the statements of the various court doctors? This pulse is impossible to misdiagnose. So you deliberately misdiagnosed in hopes of corrupting the reputation of second young Miss Bai. Daring to lie in front of Her Highness. This is a grave crime. Now your conspiracy was revealed. You dare to quibble? This official is not quibbling, but afraid of Her Highness being fooled by others, committing such a crime, but hold no intentions to repent. And you want to continue making stories to deceive the Empress Dowager? This official has already been convicted and is willing to receive punishment, but he cannot allow for the perpetrator who plotted from the shadows to escape. Shut up. Hearing him mention the shadow perpetrator, Empress Shu quickly cut off him. Guards come, drag this deceitful sinner off, and place them in the dungeons. The crime has conclusive evidence against him. Everything you say is useless. The guards beside Empress Shu immediately obeyed her command and dragged Court Dr. Liu outside. No. Because Court Dr. Liu's mouth was tightly covered by the guards. No matter how hard he tried, he was unable to speak of his protests. Waving her hand, Empress Shu waved her hand to inform the bodyguard to quickly drag him away from the Empress Dowager's attention. Now that Bai Ruoqi's injustice was finally washed away, this fool must be quickly dragged away to not affect the election of concubine selecting. If news of this poisoning were to leak out, they would be finished. Chest heaving up and down, the Empress Dowager almost had an asthma attack. She was surrounded by court doctors, so she had no energy to spare for the ensuing circumstances. They watched Court Dr. Liu being dragged out of the peach blossom orchard. Wait a moment. A crisp and sweet voice sounded. Her voice was not loud, but it contained an amazing penetrating power. Swallowing her pills, the Empress Dowager calmed down and heard someone say something. Surprised, she turned her head to look. At the edge of the peach blossom orchard, a young girl dressed in white slowly appeared. She looked soft, appeared elegant in temperament. It seemed as if she was different from the rest of the others. In the trees and under the pink petals, that childish face looked particularly delicate and tender pink. Whose daughter is this? When AI Jiao looks at her, why does she feel such destiny? How come she has never been seen before? Does she not come to the palace often? Throwing out this remark, Empress Shu and Bai Ruo AI heard alarms bells ringing in their hearts. That damn girl, a thorn in their flesh. Wasn't it that little wastrel slut, Huang Yuli? Empress Dowagers adored young girls, but there aren't many princesses in the royal palace. So many daughters of ministers and nobles could show their faces in front of the Empress Dowager and obtain rewards. Bai Ruoqi was one of them. Previously, Bai Ruoqi did not think that her third sister with her personality, even if she could enter the palace, she would only receive the Empress Dowager's dislike. How would she know in the past month? This damn girl seemed to become a completely different person. Not only did she attract the attention of the crown prince, she was even gaining the Empress Dowagers, enough to say, giving her a feeling of destiny. This was enough. For a moment, Empress Shu did not know how to answer. Using accusing eyes, Gugu Li immediately stood up and said, "Your Highness, this young lady, you held her when she was younger." "Oh, who?" The Empress Dowager became even more curious. "How come I cannot remember?" Gugu Li smiled and said, "This is third young Miss Bai, the only daughter of Wu Wei Manors by Lu Feng. You also bestowed her a title of Regent Princess too." The Empress Dowager suddenly said, "So she became such a cute girl. That year, she was the most sensible little girl, even more obedient than some of the Emperor's princesses." Suddenly, her eyes turned more affable. You can also listen on. Gugu Li flatteringly said, "Your Highness' memory is still so good. More than a dozen years have passed, yet you still remember it so clearly. The Empress Dowager was very happy and said, "Turns out it was Li Girl. AI Jia still remembers you. That year when you accompanied by Lu Feng into the palace, you were still young and already a beautiful child. Very gifted. Back then, everyone all agreed that you would grow up to be a proud and beautiful girl. In a flash, you have grown so big. Come and let AIG have a look." With light and graceful steps, Huang Yuli walked towards the Empress Dowager. When she passed by Ruo Qi's glare practically spewed out flames. Meeting her gaze, Huang Yuli returned with a gentle and sweet smile. "Your Royal Highness, Empress Dowager, I plead for pardon on behalf of my second sister. Please allow my second sister to stand up." Not only was she injured, she was then misdiagnosed, suffering quite a lot. To kneel down again. I am afraid that she won't be able to bear much longer. As soon as she opened her mouth, it was to aid by Ruo Qi. The Empress Dowager laughed. "This girl, quite caring for your sister. This sisterly relationship is very good. This is AIG's negligence. Someone come help second young miss by, and allow her to rest by the side." Bowing deeply, Huang Yuli, thanking the Empress Dowager, giving her a seat, the Empress Dowager said amiably, "Li Girl, you have not entered the palace for many years, right? Truly too pitiful. Listening to your uncle, I hear that your body has been weak in health for the past few years, constantly in bed. Hearing this, AIG has been quite concerned for you. Truly did not expect to see you today, and with such vitality." Huang Yuli replied, "Thanks for the Empress Dowager's concern. Lear has also missed you. Unfortunately for the past few years, even though it is better now, I was unable to cultivate. Due to my fear of being made a joke, I did not dare to enter the palace or go out. But it is different now." Listening to this, the Empress Dowager's eyes shone bright. "So you can cultivate now?" The more she looked at Huang Yuli, the more the Empress Dowager liked her. In terms of her birth, she was the daughter of Bai Lu Feng, a seventh-staged master. In the small country of South Yu, SA's seventh-stage expert was absolutely worthy of the title Master of the World. In contrast, Bai Ruo Qi's father, Bai Lu Jing, was but ninth-level defensive profound practitioner. Although both are from Wu Wei Manor, anyone with a bit of brains would be able to see the disparity between the two. The Empress Dowager and the Emperor also knew who was the true first daughter of Wu Wei Manor. If it were possible, they do not want to select Bai Ruo Qi. However, the previous Bai Ruo Li was just too lacking. And with all the rumors spread over the years, they all described her as weak, sickly, and petite. Not only that, there were also rumors of illicit affairs with a man. With such a character, how could she become the crown prince's imperial concubine? As a result of this, she had not allowed Bai Ruo Qi to advance. Originally, the Empress Dowager truly believed those rumors. But when she saw the real person, she knew that they were not credible. Looking at this young girl, whether it was looks, temperament, grace, or attitude, they were all superior. Even the royal princess could not compare. Furthermore, she is both affectionate and righteous, concerned about her sister's well-being. This added extra points in the Empress Dowager's heart. Empress Dowager's impression towards Huang Yuli rose immensely. The only regrettable thing was her inability to cultivate. You can also listen on. That year, this little girl's talent test was conducted in the palace, a well-known truth. That was not some baseless rumor, as the Empress Dowager herself witnessed this event. Feeling sorry over this matter, the Empress Dowager could not help herself but feel a burst of surprise when she heard Huang Yuli's words of being able to practice again. Questioning her, she wished to know the answer. Huang Yuli merely smiled. Just as she was about to answer, her eyes traveled to a remote corner of the peach blossom orchard. This caused her to stand up immediately. "Wait, do not leave like this." Surprised, the Empress Dowager asked, "What's wrong?" Huang Yuli looked in that direction and shouted, "Empress Dowager, please do not take Court Dr. Lu away. Lear just heard him say there is a mastermind behind this whole affair. Let him explain himself clearly, or else the culprit may escape." The Empress Dowager turned to see Court Dr. Lu being dragged away. She frowned. "How? There is a hidden story? Huang Yuli nodded her head and said, Your Highness, please consider this. Court Dr. Liu is just a doctor. So why would he deliberately say that my second sister had a joyous pulse? Framing my sister, where is the benefit for him? Clearly someone instigated this from behind the scenes. If this person is not captured today, then my second sister would have suffered for nothing. Thinking for a while, the Empress Dowager thought this made sense. You're right, this, I'm afraid, really is not that simple. Taking the chance when the two were discussing this, Empress Shu secretly indicated for the guards to quickly tow the prisoner away. Who knew? She was still a step too late. Your Highness, this is not simple. However, for such an ill-hearted person to destroy your peach blossom banquet, it is the negligence of this concubine. Therefore, please allow for the Ministry of Justice to investigate this affair. While my senior, you should rest your heart and enjoy the blossoms with your full attention. Empress Shu was barely smiling as she tried to convince the Empress Dowager. Huang Yuli wrinkled her brows and frowned. Empress Shu, although you have good intentions, but this thing must be made clear now. My sister suffered so many condemnations, yet you intend to write it off as a misdiagnosis? Are you even putting Wu Wei manner in your eyes? I cannot allow for my elder sister to suffer such injustices. She spoke with grandeur, in a righteous and awe-inspiring manner. Even the Empress Dowager had been touched. Good. You are a good child, treating your sister really well. This makes AI Jia feel happy. Second sister is my relative. Oh, good child, good child. The Empress Dowager was full of praises for Huang Yuli. Empress Shu, and by Ruoqi, almost vomited blood. Which little slut was treating her elder sister well? Should it be that she could not wait to kill her own sister? They did not expect her cheap act to sell so well. Obviously, she was the most insidious one. Even the Empress Dowager Queen Mother was cheated on their very first meeting. Experiencing great difficulties, the two people felt nauseous, like they had just swallowed flies. Her Highness waved her hand. Quickly bring Dr. Liu back to AI Jia. Let him confession the identity of the mastermind. Lear, rest assured, for AI Jia will definitely seek justice for your sister. Definitely will not allow for her to suffer for no cause. Bai Ruoqi was in tears. She would rather be wronged. She did not want the Empress Dowager to investigate. However, those words were spoken by Huang Yuli. There was simply no room for her to protest. Feeling hopeful, Dr. Liu's hatred towards Bai Ruoqi increased. Being brought back, he immediately fell on his knees and poured everything out. Your Highness Empress Dowager, thank you for giving me a chance and investigate into this matter. Today's affair of second young miss by fainting from blood loss truly occurred to do drugged wine. But the person who drugged the wine was no other than Bai Ruoqi herself. You can also listen on. What? Did I hear wrong? How can this be? Is Dr. Liu crazy? Or did a problem occur with my ears? Dr. Liu merely said a few words, and everyone turned to look at each other. The young ladies were so shocked that they momentarily forgot they were in the presence of the Empress Dowager, as they all exclaimed aloud. The Empress Dowager herself was also shocked. This, Bai Ruoqi immediately jumped up. Pointing at Dr. Liu's nose, she scolded him. Dr. Liu, you are spitting blood. What do you mean by that? Daring to spout such unfounded lies. Just for the sake of escaping your crimes. You are acting like a mad dog, randomly biting people. Her Royal Highness will not believe nonsense such as this. Empress Shu also said, That's right. This is pure slander. Shameless bullying. Not only did you deliberately misdiagnose second young miss by causing her loss of face, you are now biting her again. This royal wants to ask you, what are you harboring in your heart? Kneeling down in front of the Empress Dowager, Bai Ruoqi cried, Empress Dowager, please seek justice for me. Because of me, Dr. Liu became a persecuted criminal. So he deliberately retaliated and said such words. The Empress Dowager frowned, obviously quite confused by this sudden turn in situation. She felt this was unexpected. The true mastermind, Dr. Liu announced, turned out to be Bai Ruoqi. This simply does not make any sense. Why would anyone drug themselves? It seems like what Bai Ruoqi said was true. Dr. Lu was seeking revenge. The Empress Dowager angrily said, "Great courage, coming to this point, and you still dare to claim such nonsense. Deceiving AI Jiao like so. You will not shed tears until you see your grave." Empress Shu took this opportunity to add, "Guards come, drag this death-seeking fool away. Give him 100 heavy strikes first." Empress Dowager, "I am innocent. Wrong ah. I really did not lie. This is all the work of the insidious and vicious Bai Ruoqi." Woo woo woo. Dr. Lu struggled hard, but he was simply no match for the palace guards. Empress Dowager, please allow Dr. Lu to finish his claims, Huang Yuli said unhurriedly. Bai Ruoqi glared at her fiercely and shouted, "Bai Ruoli, what do you mean by that? This quack doctor hurt your sister so miserably, but you insist on helping him? Do you even consider me as your elder sister?" A few tears appearing on her tender face, along with slightly red eyes, she looked accusingly at Huang Yuli. As the Empress Dowager frowned, Bai Ruoqi felt proud. "Well, I'll let you pretend this sisterly bond. You can act no longer." Huang Yuli reluctantly shook her head and sighed. "Second sister, how can you say such a thing? Sister, I'm so sad, for I truly hold good intentions. The reason being my insistence of keeping Dr. Lu is all but for my second sister. For me?" Bai Ruoqi gritted her teeth. "Do not lie. You just cannot bear to see me well, right?" Feigning an injured look, Huang Yuli turned to look at the Empress Dowager. "Empress Dowager, it really is for the good of my sister. Although Dr. Lu's claims are very discreditable, his lie is very flawed. If we were to take Dr. Lu away, what will we do if the mastermind goes and poisons him to death?" When she heard this, a flash of surprise passed through the Empress Dowager's eyes. "Li girl, AI Jia has underestimated you. Thinking so carefully, even taking such things into account." Huang Yu shyly looked down and modestly replied, "Your Highness is overpraising me. You can also listen on. This girl isn't too bad. Thinking so considerately for your sister." The Empress Dowager smiled at Huang Yuli and nodded. Turning around, she looked at Bai Ruoqi with cold eyes. "Unfortunately, it seems your sister does not appreciate it." Bai Ruoqi not help but shiver. She became aware that her overeager desire to pull down Huang Yuli had caused the Empress Dowager to feel repulsed. In the Empress Dowager's eyes, that little slut became even more innocent, while she became a wicked sister. Once again, she fell into Huang Yuli's word pit. Bai Ruoqi quickly said, "Empress Dowager, you misunderstood. Chichir is just too impatient. I know that my third sister is doing this for my own good." "Third sister. Sister here will apologize to you. You do not mind, right?" Huang Yuli replied with a smile. "Ah, do not mind. Since second sister is so anxious to know the truth, we cannot waste time. Let Dr. Lu continue his confession." The Empress Dowager nodded her head. "Precisely. Quickly, bring the person back." Bai Ruoqi anxiously threw glances towards Empress Shu. Huang Yuli saw all this happen and said, "Second sister, if Dr. Lu says anything disrespectful, you cannot be too triggered. Allow him to finish before claiming your innocence." Empress Dowager, I am afraid that my elder sister cannot control her emotions. So later on, please allow me to complete the questioning." Empress Dowager agreed. "Very well. I give you permission. When you are talking, no is to interrupt." Unexpectedly, Bai Ruoqi had lost her cool so easily, completely devoid of any royal bearing. From a situation, no matter in terms of bearing, speaking, or attitude, this Li girl is vastly superior than Bai Ruoqi, worthy of being the daughter of Bai Lu Feng. Running on her wits' end, Bai Ruoqi almost fainted. However, the Empress Dowager had passed her commands. She no longer held any power to stop this. Dr. Lu, on the other hand, believed that he was destined to die. And just as he was about to endure his 100 beatings, he truly did not expect for another chance to be given to him. This time, he did not even give his courtesies and directly tried his best to finish his sentence. 3 days ago, second young Miss Bai asked me to meet her at the tea house. She gave me a lot of money and asked me to give her a strong medicine that would stimulate blood flow. She then told me that she will frame her third sister at the Peach Blossom Banquet. At that time, what? Bai Ruali? What is going on? This can't be right. Bai Ruo Chi wants to frame her own cousin. Why? He just opened mouth and released such a bomb. One after the other, loud draws of breath echoed through the room. Even the Empress Dowager could not help but interrupted him. You wait. You say Chi or wish to frame Lear. So she asked for your assistance? Yes. I heard very clearly. Second young Miss Bai wished to harm her third sister, because her third sister made her lose face at 1,000 Treasure Pavilions auction the other day. Furthermore, third young Miss Bai once held an oral agreement of engagement with the Crown Prince. Harboring hard feelings, second young Miss Bai, what? There was such a thing? The Empress Dowager said in surprise. The audience also whispered about. In this case, it is really possible. I won 1,000 Treasure Pavilions auction, and such a thing really did happen. Yes. It is normal to resent the other party for making you lose face, right? Then didn't Bai Ruoqi deserve it? Just now when she said she wished to reconcile with Bai Ruoli, it turned out to be false? Such hypocrisy. You can also listen on. You baseless slandering, listening to all the discussion and variety of despising eyes. Bai Ruoqi could no longer control herself and jumped up. Your Highness, you must listen to Cheer. Things are not like this. With large strides, Huang Yuli walked to her side with a look of concern. Second sister, do not become excited. Did I not tell you just then? No matter what Dr. Lu will say, do not take it to heart. Regardless of his claims, the truth will eventually come to light. No one is wronging you. The person who wants to wrong me, is it not you? Second sister, I have not said anything towards you. Enough. The Empress Dowager interrupted the two. It was already agreed that Lear will do the questioning. No one is to intervene. Now settle down for AI Jia. Whoever dares to speak again will leave immediately. The onlookers hurriedly shut their mouths. Facing Dr. Lu again, Huang Yuli spoke with great righteousness. Dr. Lu, how can you sow dissension, ruining the bond between sisters? I grew up with second sister, so our relationship is very intimate. Do you think that a casual few lying words will make us suspect each other? Let me tell you, you are wrong. Listening to this, Dr. Lu turned even more anxious. Feeling resentful for not reaching his expectations, he continued. Third young Miss Bai, why are you so foolish? Do you really think that second Miss Bai is truly good to you? She has been secretly plotting against you, okay? Can you grow some brains? Don't help count the money after being scammed. Bai Ruoqi almost fainted. In the end, who was the scammer and the one helping to count the money? It's Dr. Lu himself, okay? This damn girl is so insidious. Not scamming others would be good enough. If she was considered foolish, there are no smart people in this world. However, no one could hear Bai Ruoqi's voice. With a face full of anger, Huang Yuli replied with shaking hands. Do not speak nonsense. How can second sister plot against me? Simply nonsense. Her attitude stimulated Dr. Lu further. The more she disbelieved him, the more determined Dr. Lu became to show her the truth. Humph, she will not plot against you? Let us talk about today's affair. If you think about it, did second Miss Bai personally invite you to drink wine and then immediately faint? It was no accident. I just do not know why. She was foolish enough to take the wrong glass and drink the drug herself. As Huang Yuli recalled the events, a look of shock appeared on her face. If she was hit with great force, she staggered and almost fell to the ground. Impossible. It cannot be. Must have been caused by others. Second sister did not know her wine was drugged. Oh, you still do not believe? Well, even though there is no evidence, do not feel anything? When you were in poor health, every time you wanted to visit the royal palace, you will fall faint with a fever. Do you think it was due to your own health? That was the work of Bai Ruoqi. Every time she would come to me for a prescription, hindering your trips every single time. What? How is that possible? You are talking absolute nonsense. You think you can speak without evidence. Oh well. The last time someone said you were having an immoral relationship with an, but do you know how you ended up in the back courtyard? It is all because of your second sister. She drugged you. As for this sleeping powder, it happened to be me who provided her with it. The more Dr. Liu spoke, the more vigorous his tone became. Like spilled beans, he revealed all of the past deeds by Ruo Qi conducted against her. You can also listen on. He was just too angry. He had done so much for the Madam of Wu Wei Manor and by Ruo Qi. But the result? By Ruo Qi instantly betrayed as soon as difficulties arose. Emperor Shu as well, ordering for him to receive beatings without any proof. Well, since he didn't have much left for him, then he might as well go for broke and expose everything. The banquet 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that in that manner, one affair after the other, one piece after the other, Dr. Liu revealed everything down to the tiniest details. When these words were spoken, it shocked everyone present. Even with the Empress Dowager's command of silence, they could not help themselves but speak out. God, these are not real, are they? You really can't see. Bai Ruo Qi turned out to be such a sinister woman. But at the end, why did she go plot against her own cousin? How can you not understand this? Is it not because of jealousy? Bai Ruo Li is the daughter of Bai Lu Feng, born a much higher status than her. Though they are both from Wu Wei Manor, when you compare the two, the difference is like east and west. In other words, the reason behind Bai Ruo Li's inability to cultivate is because of her. Otherwise, with the innate talents of her parents, she shouldn't be a wastrel. For this point, everyone had wronged Bai Ruo Qi. Bai Ruo Li's inability to cultivate it mainly originated from her constitution. However, with things reaching this point, no one will think that Bai Ruo Qi is unrelated to this matter. No matter how she proved her innocence, rumors would have spread through the capital by tomorrow. As Bai Ruo Qi listened to her various misdeeds being exposed, she became extremely panicked. It was with great difficulty that she barely controlled her emotions. It wasn't until the earlier accusation that she finally burst out. What nonsense are you talking? This is pure slander. Slander. I have not done that. Do not believe that words of that quack. Che. Whether or not it is true, he is still a court doctor. Why would he know so many affairs of Wu Wei Manor? That right. There are hidden schemes involved. As Bai Ruo Qi angrily debated, it did zero effect in proving her claims. In fact, it solidified her guilty conscience to the crowd. Huang Yuli smiled ambiguously, but she kept that smile hidden. For the audience, she collapsed in her seat and began to mutter incoherently. Impossible, this is impossible. Whatever you say, I will not believe it. Kneeling on the ground, Court Dr. Liu loudly said, Empress Dowager, this official swears that he speaks the truth. All this was caused by Ruo Qi herself. You cannot allow yourself to be cheated by her. The Empress Dowager was shaking all over. With a loud crash, the cup and dishes were swept to the ground, smashing to pieces. Well, so this is how Wu Wei Manor treats Bai Lu Feng's daughter. Did you forget how your title was obtained? If such a thing did not happen, who knows how long AI Jiao would be left in the dark? So the Li girl had been bullied so much in her own home. If Huang Yuli were to lament over her experiences today, the Empress Dowager may doubt the latter, but completely trust her words. But now, such words originated from a third party. The credibility turned much higher. Huang Yuli really did not expect there to be such an unexpected gain. She merely wished for a dogfight between Bai Ruo Qi and Dr. Liu. But who would expect Doctors Liu Bite to be this good? Knowing such large amount of insider information. You can also listen on. The Empress Dowager could hardly believe her ears. She had been made a fool and lied to for so many years. The fact stood, the Empress Dowager and the Emperor were people who cherished the past. They still very much treasured the friendship with Bai Lu Feng. After all, 7th-level super experts would generally leave their country of birth and set off to the center of South Sky region. They were not somebody the small country of South you could keep. Bai Lu Feng, however, held quite a lot of righteousness. Due to a friendship with the emperor from their childhood, he continued to remain in South Yu. It was also due to his presence that quite a few surrounding royal families, absolute hegemon countries, did not dare to provoke them. After the disappearance of Bai Lu Feng, the Empress Dowager remained very concerned for his only daughter. In those days, Bai Lu Feng and Bai Lu Jing were the model example of brothers. No one would imagine that she would suffer any abuse if left under her uncle's care. When she heard the girl was weak in health, the Empress Dowager became further worried. She did not wish to disturb her recuperation. How was she to know that the manor would pull so many underhanded tricks? However, the reality was the Empress Dowager's care for Bai Lu Feng's daughter was secondary. The main reason behind her extreme anger was the extent of time she had been fooled. More than 10 years. No one liked to be played a fool. Say nothing of the Empress Dowager. This was a capital offense. Lying to the monarchy. Empress Dowager, calm your anger. I really can explain. Bai Ruoqi hurriedly kneeled down on the ground as cold sweat rolled down her forehead. Then drop by drop, they splashed onto the ground. She really did not expect Dr. Liu to be so daring, blabbering everything out. She was down for this time. Her mistreatment of third sister was a criminal offense, and her impression within the Empress Dowager's heart would become sinister and cunning woman. Once it reached the ears of the emperor, she would no longer have any chance to become the crown prince's imperial concubine. If things were to advance in severity, might also affect the reputation of Wu Wei Manor. She was really finished this time. Empress Dowager gasped angrily. Explain? AI Jia wants to hear how you will explain yourself? Bai Ruoqi bit down her tongue, and tears came tumbling down her face. She said chokingly, Empress Dowager, you have always treated Cheer the best. How can you listen to an outsider, then directly condemn Cheer? Looking at her cry, the Empress Dowager fell to a loss. This was the girl she watched grow up from young. So as the Empress Dowager watched her cry so miserably, she inadvertently became a little shaken. Did she really wrong her? Her tone softened a little. In that case, you must have a good explanation. If you cannot explain everything clearly, you cannot blame AI Jia. Yes. Bai Ruoqi's heart beat quickly as she thought. She had to find a good reason for today. Otherwise, eyes flashing, she came up with a vicious idea. Current schedule, 6 regular happy doses a week. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli was a bit surprised. Bai Ruoqi unexpectedly came up with this trick. Worthy of being her cousin. Smart enough, but also shameless enough. In a timely manner, Huang Yueli made a frightened expression. Staring with a pair of innocent eyes, she confidently said, Second sister, how can you say that? How can I slander you? She bit her pinky lower lip, about to burst into tears. In the Empress Dowager's eyes, her heart felt more pity when she thought of her many years of grievances. Li girl, do not be sad. AI Jia believes you're not such a person. Cheer, how can you say that about your sister? AI Jia really did not think you were such a person. Empress Dowager, you are too biased. Cheer has evidence. Bai Ruoqi grinded her teeth, loudly crying out in defense. Before Cheer fainted, she only drank that cup of wine with third sister. So she suspects the likelihood of her poisoning the wine is the largest. Surprised a moment, the Empress Dowager looked back at Huang Yueli. Is that true? Huang Yueli said, Yes, we did drink a cup, but it was obviously second sister who came to me. The cups and jugs were also provided by her. Furthermore, second sister is such a powerful cultivator. How do I have the ability to poison her under her eyes? You mean I poisoned it myself and drank the poison? Am I stupid? Huang Yueli pursed her mouth, a look of innocence plastered. You are calling yourself stupid, I did not say. Hearing these words, a lot of people could not help themselves and laughed out. PFFTT, it's too funny. There are still people who call themselves stupid. Red-faced, Bai Ruoqi could not believe that a moment's carelessness caused her to fall into Huang Yueli's trap. You, you are mocking me. When Dr. Liu came over, is it not you who suggested the idea of examining via silk sheet? If you do not have ulterior motives, why do you perform such superfluous things? Clearly you and Dr. Liu are in cahoots with each other. What I am colluding in? Huang Yueli displayed an innocent expression. Second sister, the examination through a silk sheet was indeed my proposal, but I did that under the consideration for your good name. After all, your area of bleeding, that place. If the court doctor were to see. What do you mean? Besides, I really do not understand why during the examination of silk sheet, Dr. Liu would misdiagnose. Are you implying that he would not misdiagnose if he saw the patient's face? In the end, who was his target? A pair of curious eyes, Huang Yueli asked in a very confused manner. She needed Bai Ruoqi to clear these doubts. Faced with this question, Bai Ruoqi met with a sudden loss of words. She did not expect Huang Yueli's reaction to be so fast. Once again seizing the flaws in her words. If Dr. Liu saw Bai Ruoqi and thus did not misdiagnose, it would only serve to further consolidate the hidden mastermind. Wouldn't that mean she'd be unable to break from that suspicion, Bai Ruoqi? In attempts to gloss over this topic, Bai Ruoqi continued. In short, only the two of us drank. If the poisoner isn't me, then it is her, and naturally I would not poison myself. The suspect would fall to Bai Ruoli, and she has quite large motive for this. Oh, what motive? The Empress Dowager asked. Everyone also erected their ears. Bai Ruoqi loudly said. Bai Ruoli has always considered herself as the fiancée of the Crown Prince. So she wanted to eradicate me, one of her competitors. Current schedule, 6 regular happy doses a week. You can also listen on. Wow, 2 sisters fighting over a man. This is a really rare show. In order to be the imperial concubine, both have torn their faces off. Huiju is saying the truth in the end. Wu Wei Hofu face really lost a big deal this time. All kinds of whispers echoed. Not only did Bai Ruoqi and Empress Shu's faces turn ugly looking, even the Empress Dowager's turned darker and darker. She forcefully hit the table, exclaiming, "All of you shut your mouths." Bai Ruoqi, what are you talking about? What competition for the imperial concubine? Is this something an upstanding young girl like you should say? Bai Ruoqi was startled and quickly fell to her knees. She also knew that it was very shameful to say such a thing. But she had lost enough face anyway. Why can that little slut Bai Ruoli remain virtuous? Losing face, let's do it together. In all today, she is determined to pour a bucket of dirty water onto Bai Ruoli as well. Bai Ruoqi disregarded everything and said, Your Royal Highness, Cheer also knows this is something I shouldn't say, but if it is not said, we may never know the truth. In recent years, the reason why we did not allow third sister to enter the palace was not only because of her poor health. It was also due to countless of ugly things, only hidden because of my father. We were afraid she would do shameful things in the royal palace, so Huang Yueli looked coldly on at Bai Ruoqi's performance and felt a bit of admiration. At a time like this, she was able to respond quickly with such a story. Struggling on her deathbed, this sort of psychological quality is really good. It is too shameless. Empress Dowager, you do not know, but a month ago, third sister had a scandal. It occurred in the back garden of the manor and was witnessed by quite a lot of people. When she did such a thing, she was afraid that it would travel to the crown prince's ears and affect her chances of becoming his imperial concubine. Not only did she intend to harm my standing, she also wished to wash herself clean. Empress Dowager, if this was planned in advance, why does she insist on Dr. Liu's presences again and again? This is her plot. You cannot be tricked by her. Crying, Bai Ruoqi seemed to be really suffer a great injustice. Cold-faced, the Empress Dowager did not interrupt her, but allowed her to finish. Seeing she did not speak, Bai Ruoqi bit down and loudly said, Your Highness, you must take action for cheer. Huang Yueli let her finish and secretly hooked the corners of her mouth. Since Ruo Bai love acting so much, then they will act together. Choking out a few drops of tears, her eyes turned red eyes. Second sister, I really did not expect this. I usually respect you, yet you think of me like this. It's okay. I do not want to say anything more. What you want to think, you can think. Saying, she clutched her chest and tottered. Lear, what happened to you? Go and support third Miss Bai. Queen Mother was shocked and instructed the palace ladies to hold her. However, Huang Yueli did not give them the chance to hold her. Leaning over the edge, she fell to the ground. She secretly felt lucky. Her pale face instantly bleached, pale as white paper. What's wrong with Li girl? Hurry, to the court doctors to examine her. After a burst of chaos, the court doctor gave their diagnosis. Your Royal Highness, third young Miss Bai fainted due to a heart attack. This was caused from anger. You can also listen on. The events that occurred in the courtyard were not explicitly set out, but of those present, not one did not understand the hidden meaning of those words. That is to say, Huang Yueli's fainting was caused from Bai Ruoqi's shameless remarks. The Empress Dowager was naturally biased towards Huang Yueli, mainly due to her absence for the past 10 years. And the chances of her colluding with Dr. Liu really weren't that high. However, with Bai Ruoqi's half-true and half-false tearful lamentations, the Empress Dowager became a little puzzled. Of the two girls, one must be the mastermind, though the likelihood of Bai Ruoqi was much larger. But why would she take such a big risk to frame her younger sister in the palace? Just how much hatred and resentment was there? Bai Ruoqi often accompanied the Empress Dowager in the palace, so she was reluctant to believe that a girl she quite liked would turn out to be such an insidious and sinister, viper-like woman. However, it was during the moment of wavering, Huang Yueli suddenly fainted, taking a step back to advance. Really more persuasive than what words could accomplish. If Huang Yueli and Bai Ruoqi were to exchange tit for tat, it would solidify the reality of a grudge between the two sisters. If both parties could not tolerate each other, then naturally there would be hidden reason why. No matter how reasonable Huang Yueli was, no matter how eloquent, it will inevitably reduce themselves to a bunch of shrews. This would also make it much more difficult to convince the Empress Dowager. But the tables had completely turned with her loss of consciousness. To outsiders, unable to accept that her beloved and respected elder sister would be so wicked to her, she fainted in a fit of shock. As a result, Bai Ruoqi became the wicked one. Even if both sides held no evidence with the current situation, coupled with Dr. Liu's allegations, Bai Ruoqi's image had truly become a vicious and cousin-bullying elder sister. The Empress Dowager looked at Huang Yueli's pale face and felt endlessly distressed. This child, too pitiful, entering the palace for the first time in more than a decade, but to have met with so many things. Obviously kind-hearted, but was misunderstood by her cousin. Doctor Who prescribed her some medicine, all right? Doctor Who responded, the Empress Dowager, third young Miss Bai's body is not good. Her qi and blood is poor, seemingly to have suffered a very serious internal injury. When this is coupled with long-term malnutrition, it would naturally lead to such a situation. Hearing this, the Empress Dowager turned even more angry. Was this not evidence to support Dr. Liu's claims? If it weren't for Wu Wei Manor's bullying of the Li girl, how could she, a dignified manor daughter, be injured and suffer malnutrition? This is too much. Hu Yuan, sure, give the Li girl a few pills and nurse her back to health. Lacking any rare herbs, you may go directly to the royal treasury to retrieve it. Bai Lu Feng has saved this queen's life several times. And what is the result? Not even knowing his daughter is being bullied. Hurriedly, Doctor Who wrote down the prescription and went to retrieve the necessary ingredients. For this part, the Empress Dowager wrongly accused Bai Ruoqi. Malnutrition is indeed a reason, but Bai Ruoqi had been constantly poisoned from young, so her body really was not that good. But those obvious internal injuries, in fact, were from Huang Yueli's forced attempt to break through to the defensive profound realm that day. But due to her failed attempt, the striking to the breakthrough damaged her dantian. On this matter, not a dime was related with Bai Ruoqi. Poor Bai Ruoqi, forced to carry another black pot, but could not get rid of it. Empress Dowager Huang Yu away. Turn their gaze by Ruoqi. Your sister has fainted from anger. What else can you say? You can also listen on. Stunned to see Huang Yueli act this away, Bai Ruoqi fell to a loss and did not know how to react. She really did not think Huang Yueli would resort to such a trick. It wasn't until Doctor, who finished Huang Yueli's examination, did she finally react and realize that she was in big trouble again. This was not the first day of knowing that damn girl. Would she really faint? It was nothing more than a deliberate attempt to frame her. That little slut turned out to be so clever and such a talented actor. To come up with such a move really left 100 mouths speechless. Bai Ruoqi trembled all over. When she heard the Empress Dowager's questions, she bit down on her teeth and used all her energy to kowtow. Your Royal Highness, Cheer is really innocent. Bai Ruoli, she's faking it. She really isn't. Isn't what? Empress Dowager said with a severe tone. Bai Ruoqi, AI Jia really liked you before. I did not expect you would be such a sinister girl. Doctor who has already diagnosed her with internal injuries. You better honestly confess yourself. Was it not you who wounded her? No, not me. How could it be me? I did not beat her at all. With a green and white complexion, Bai Ruoqi honestly did not know where Huang Yueli's internal wounds came from. Furthermore, the last time she went to cause trouble, not only did she fail to hurt Huang Yueli, but was turned into a pig. She really was not Huang Yueli's opponent. However, these words could not sound any faker in the ears of others. Bai Ruoqi was a cultivator at the 7th level of the Qi Profound Realm, whereas Huang Yueli was a wastrel. Bai Ruoqi was unable to defeat her third sister because she could not find an excuse. She began to shamefully deny everything right. The Empress Dowager's face became even more ugly. I did not expect not a single truth to come from your mouth. AI Jia is much too disappointed in you. Feeling her heart turn cold, Bai Ruoqi's clothes were soaked in cold sweat. She kowtowed and desperately tried to argue. Your Highness, you must believe Cheer. It is Bai Ruoli who framed me. She fancies the position of imperial concubine, so she colluded with Dr. Liu. Her fainting is also planned. You cannot believe her. Empress Shu also aided hurriedly. Yes, Empress Dowager, things have yet to be figured out. So how can we determine the cause of Bai Ruoli's fainting is due to Cheer? We must gather all evidence before determining Cheer's sin. Allow Lier to gather and present evidence, or it will be empty-mouth protests. How does that sound? As Dr. Liu listened to this reversal of black and white, he became anxious beyond belief. Empress Dowager, this humble servant ensures everything he has said is nothing but the truth. This humble one, the witness, If you say you are a witness, you are a witness? You are basically in cahoots with my third sister. If you have the ability, why don't you take out some material evidence? Bai Ruoqi retorted. Dr. Liu was temporarily speechless. This material evidence. Yes, You claimed that I started framing my third sister several years ago, and I have also requested you to do many immoral things. What proofs do you have? Without a shred of evidence, you dare say that you didn't purposely plot against me? Looking at his dull expression, Bai Ruoqi suddenly found some little confidence. Her meeting with Dr. Liu were secretly planned. Every time, they were very careful, no witnesses or traces behind. It can be assumed that there would be no testimonials available to back up Dr. Liu's claims. You can also listen on. Sure enough, after frowning for a good while, Dr. Liu was left speechless. His forehead continued to have cold sweat run down continuously. Bai Ruoqi's eyes suddenly shone with hope. How did she not think of this earlier? What Dr. Liu was saying earlier was nothing more than pure slander. If he really wanted to solidify her sins, he still needed to rely on facts. Any so-called confessions were useless. What? Can't take out anything? Due to lack of evidence, it means you are framing me. Explain yourself. Why did you frame this lady? Your purpose for harming my good name? What is it? Is it because a certain someone wishes to become the crown prince's imperial concubine? So she came to find you for help? I am not falsely accusing anyone. It is you who wishes to the imperial concubine, thus harming others. Then take out the evidence? Take it out for me to see? I can swear to God, every word I said is true. Otherwise I will be struck down by heavenly lightning. Previously you just committed a crime against the monarchy. Avow what use is there? Under by Ruoqi's pressing questions, Dr. Lu took in a sharp breath. He was not her opponent at all. Huang Yueli wrinkled her eyebrows slightly. Bai Ruoqi did not make a mistake. Dr. Lu was truly unable to obtain evidence, so it is impossible to confirm her as guilty. As a dignified marquis daughter, if she can be taken down by only a few words from a sinning doctor, that must be a joke. Nonetheless, Huang Yueli's purpose had been reached. Bai Ruoqi had lost all face today and in the presence of so many young ladies, almost all of them daughters of some minister. Once outside of the palace walls, her shameful actions will spread throughout the entire country. After today, she will become the object of ridicule by all, no longer able to put up the pretense of a cold, immortal fairy. Moreover, the beautiful image of Bai Ruoqi the Empress Dowager had of her has also completely shattered. Even if there is no irrefutable evidence, the Empress Dowager has already made it very clear that it was all irrelevant. Empress Dowager felt that it is absolutely impossible for such a viper-like woman to become the palace's imperial concubine. The emperor is very filial to his mother. If there is fierce opposition from his mother, Bai Ruoqi's chances to become imperial concubine is basically zero. And her purpose had always been the prevention of Bai Ruoqi's ascension to imperial concubine. This being the case, her final act against Bai Ruoqi was almost complete. Today's act and show was to portray her as a weak and little girl, and with a tired appearance. It was about time to wrap things up. Huang Yueli secretly yawned a little. Then, with her eyes slit open, she began to moan softly. The Empress Dowager immediately went to her side. "Lyra, you finally woke up? How do you feel? Does your chest still feel uncomfortable?" Huang Yueli shook her head while clutching the chest. She seemed to struggle up. "Lyra, lie down. Do not get up." Huang Yueli shook her head and said, "Your Highness, Lyra is okay." Just then, second sister and Dr. Lu's words. "I heard them." Bai Ruoqi immediately sneered. "Well, since you heard them, what else is there to say? Can you come up with evidence to prove Dr. Lu's claims?" Huang Yueli looked at her, then looked at the Empress Dowager. She then slowly shook her head. "No, I cannot. I have no evidence." With great pleasure, Bai Ruoqi almost jumped up. "Since there is no evidence, then you must I was framed? You can also listen on." Huang Yueli bit her lips and whispered, "Second sister, Bai Ruoqi looked at her pale face and assumed that she had scared her. She couldn't help but feel proud. As I said earlier, I did not do those things. And you guys wish to splash dirty water on me? What will you do now? Regret it? Let me tell you, it's too late." Believing that Huang Yueli was at her rope's end, Bai Ruoqi regained her initiative. Continuously talking, she hoped to overpower her in this momentum, framing her cousin and doing so many secret things. Quickly knelt down and apologized to the Empress Dowager. "Only then will I consider opening the net from the side to allow the horse to escape. How about it? Quickly do it." Huang Yueli maintained her calm expression. She sighed deeply and softly said, "Second sister, I have no evidence. Even if there were evidence, I would not bring them out. Today's events, whether or not done by you, it does not matter. I do not want to pursue whose fault it is. If you insist it was due to your younger sister's treacherous intent, then I... The more she spoke, the softer her voice became until it became nothing more than chokes. Seeing her this way, the Empress Dowager immediately felt very uncomfortable. Look at how pathetic this girl is. Form young till now. She has had no father or mother, alone in the manor, while also bullied by uncle and cousins. Now that her second sister has climbed her over her head, with various reasons to slander her and throw dirty water on her, she continues to be so pure and kind, not wanting to account for anything, just wishing to rest the matter. In contrast, Bairuachi has already been identified, but unwillingly to forget the matter and continue to quibble. Both young ladies from the Bai family, yet there was such a gap. Taking Huang Yueli's hand, the Empress Dowager patted it gently and said, "Li girl, AI Jia understands your intentions, but the country has its laws. If there really is a crime, the proper investigations must occur." Be as it may, Bairuachi was still a child she had watched grow up. Furthermore, she once appreciated this girl. The Empress Dowager had always had a kind heart, so when the time approached to deal with things appropriately, she could not bear it a little. Bairuachi practically spit out blood. Why could that damn girl act so well? Every time when she assumed she had gained the upper hand, about to win, a few words from Huang Yueli had changed cliff-hanging positions. Time and again, she could not make a comeback. Was this damn girl her nemesis? Why was she unable to kill her? Instead, it was she who suffered? Now, she was once again overturned by this damn girl. Was today the day where her reputation truly swept the ground? Teeth clenched, Bairuachi desperately worked her mind. No matter what was said, she is only a step away from the position of Crown Prince's imperial concubine. She absolutely must be condemned by the Empress Dowager today. As long as it was not today, maybe Bairuachi's thoughts were too strong, or it may be something she did not deserve. Not knowing what to do, Gugu Li suddenly spoke up from the corner. She whispering into the Empress Dowager's ear, she said a few words. "Empress Dowager, Eunuch Qin just came to report that the banquet in the Palace of Peace and Tranquility is ready. The Emperor and Imperial Empress are waiting in the palace. They are requesting for you and the ladies to, what? It's already at the Wu hour? How's the time fly so fast?" The Empress Dowager asked in surprise. "It is already 2/4 past the Wu hour." Seeing no movement from you, the Emperor sent someone to ask. You can also listen on. The Empress Dowager's face sank. To be honest, she wanted to investigate the root of this matter clearly today, and to also take this opportunity to teach Bairuachi a lesson. However, the Peach Blossom Banquet is top priority. The Emperor and Imperial Empress were waiting for them in the Palace of Peace and Tranquility. She must take into consideration the overall goal. And like Bairuachi said, there is no evidence. The things Dr. Liu said were all things from long ago. So if they wish to find material evidence, it would take more than a day or two. While the Emperor's side could not wait. Weighing the trade-offs, the Empress Dowager let out a sigh. For such a disgraceful thing to occur today, it has wasted so much time. Enough. First escort Dr. Liu to prison. Tell the Department of Justice to interrogate him strictly. Saying this, she swept her cold gaze over Bairuachi. Today's affairs are not over yet. AI Jia believes that the Ministry of Justice will be able to deliver an answer to this case. When that time comes, the criminal will be crystal clear. Who framed their own sister? AI Jia will definitely not spare her. Finished, the Empress Dowager stood up and did not give a second glance to Bairuachi, bringing with her Empress Shu and a group of palace eunuchs and maids. Grandly, she walked to the Palace of Peace and Tranquility. Awakened by the conclusion, the various young ladies remembered their purpose today. Seeing such a fantastic shows, all the ups and downs of a drama, many people forgot the purpose of their gathering. To participate in the selection of the various imperial concubine. Quickly grooming themselves, they were led by the numerous palace ladies to catch up with the Empress Dowager. By fluke, Bairuachi escaped. Her face pale, she only felt her back clothes completely soaked with cold sweat. With the laughter of the various groups of young ladies, they continued to talk about scandal with great vigor. Their sounds were not controlled, as you could hear their discussions from far away. I did not expect Bairuachi to be such a person and to be exposed the Empress Dowager. Today's Peach Blossom Banquet, it shouldn't be related to her anymore, right? That is sure. How can the Empress Dowager make His Royal Highness marry this kind of woman, becoming his imperial concubine? Bairuachi has always considered the position of the Crown Prince's imperial concubine to be hers. did not expect she would be the first to be eliminated. In other words, one must behave with integrity. When the marriage is not set, one cannot be so arrogant. She's disgraced now, right? Fuming mad with rage, Bairuachi could only follow and hide at the very back. Usually, she was the most favored for the limelight, walking at the very front. But now, she with her reputation, she could only avoid the crowd, or the peculiar gazes from around would make her die from shame. It wasn't until most people have already left did Bairuachi bite her teeth to catch up. Although such a thing happened, the concubine had yet to be selected. She will not give up, although it is obvious the Empress Dowager will strongly oppose her becoming the imperial concubine at Peach Blossom Banquet. But she still has cards to play. A few days prior, she took a bottle of spirit-cleansing pills. After a night of bitter cultivation, she successfully broke through 2 levels in a row. She is now at the Chi Profound 9th level. Think of her opportunity to show off her strength at the Peach Blossom Banquet. She imagined the surprised and speechless look of the Empress Dowager. Thinking of this, Bairuachi sneered in her heart. So, what if her name is bad? Almost punished? In the Tianling continent, to gain respect, power was absolute. You can also listen on. Second sister, what are you doing here? Were you feeling uncomfortable? As Bairuachi was getting ready to catch up with the group, she did not expect to hear most annoying sound from behind her. Immediately, like cat whose tail was pulled, she almost jumped up. You damn girl, it's you. Why have you not left? Huang Yu blinked and wretchedly said, I just fainted. Although I ate some pills, I still feel a little faint. I decided to go a little slower. What about you, second sister? You also fainted. Do you not feel comfortable? Do you need to go home to rest? Go home to rest? Bairuachi sneered. What? Plotting against me today? You feel very proud? Thinking not only I will not be selected, but I also lost a lot of face today. So the only option is to escape back home? Let me tell you, you are wrong. Huang Yue lazily replied. Second sister, what are you talking about? We all know, in the end, who is plotting who? You were the one to smash you on foot. How can blame me, Huang Yue said the truth, but Bairuachi apparently do not think so. She would not think she was at fault, hence there was no need to be taught a lesson. In her opinion, today's incident was all due to Huang Yue. She was both shamed, victimized by this little slut. She said in a cold voice, Oh, now you are proud, thinking that using this tactic will give fame and fortune, thus allowing to sit on the position of imperial concubine? I beg you, before you go pee, first look at yourself. You nothing but a piece of trash. No matter how good your acting skills, it will never be yours. Huang Yue shrugged and said indifferently, In your eyes, the crown prince is a peaked genius. Someone you need to obtain, no matter the means. But for me, he nothing. For your own short-sightedness, please do not think that I am someone like you. 5th grade talent, the crown prince? Was it worthy of her cherishing? As expected, Bairuachi has not experienced the world, not even mentioning her flame spirit physique. Even in her past life, the crown prince was worth no more than her little finger. No matter how careless in selecting she was, she would not be able to find such a low-quality man. Moreover, as a 9th-tier armament master's taste was extremely high. Huang Yue said another big truth. Unfortunately, no one believed her. Bairuachi looked at her with eyes full of ridicule. Oh, I did not expect you to be this clever. Knowing you will certainly not be chosen, you deliberately put on a do-not-care outlook. No matter how well you act, it means nothing. Who knows whether you came here for the position of imperial concubine? Huang Yue shook her head. AI, what's the situation? Just telling the truth. It is so hard. Bairuachi sneered. Continue acting. I hope when I become the imperial concubine, you will not be hanging yourself from depression. To hear her say so confidently, Huang Yue was left in surprise. Did Bairuachi eat the wrong medicine or something? With the current situation, she has almost 0 chances of becoming the imperial concubine. How can she still be so confident? Huang Yue probed. It seems second sister is certain she will be able to take the position. I really do not know where your self-confidence comes from. You should be very clear. The Empress Dowager will certainly not stand on your side. The Empress Dowager? Bairuachi coldly hooked the corners of her mouth. So what if the Empress Dowager does not agree? His Royal Highness the Crown Prince will understand that only me, Bairuachi, is his most sensible choice. You can also listen on. In the martial world of Tianling continent, only strength was the way in all four great regions. In front of absolute strength, any other opinions were nothing more than fleeting clouds. When she recalled the past few days of grueling cultivation, bathing in painful experiences, Bairuachi's eyes flashed with a must-win light. Her strength was not the same as before. It had reached a new level. The position of imperial concubine, it would be hers. As Huang Yueli watched Bairuachi's receding back view, a touch of smile floating on her mouth. Her second sister is quite simple. She wondered what new trick she has up her sleeves, able to give her such overwhelming confidence to win over all the other golden-spoon-born young ladies. It seems like this game is far from over. In the Palace of Peace and Tranquility, it was already fully decorated and furnished. To welcome the various guests, it was adorned with numerous peach ornamentals. At each table set, there stood a vase full of beautiful peach blossoms. By the time Huang Yueli entered the Palace of Peace and Tranquility, except for her and Bairuachi, all the other young ladies had arrived and were seated in accordance with the aid of the palace ladies. Third young Miss Bai, please come with me. Huang Yueli discovered that her seat was at the very front. It was above both the nationally recognized first talents Bairuachi and Lu Yi. This should be on behalf of her cheap father's face. As she took her seat, and before her bottom could even warm it, she already felt the jealous gazes projected from all around. Vaguely, she heard some whisperings. Huang Yueli knew that her actions today were quite eye-catching. From revealing her face to the Empress Dowager, and now sit in the first seat of the crowd. From what she heard, this seating plan was made in accordance of the greatest possibility to become the imperial concubine. Since the emperor put her in the first place, it indicated that he was as the rumors said. He still remembered the promise he made with Bai Lu Feng. With greatly difficulty, Bairuachi was knocked down. But the result? They discovered that the bigger threat was the inconspicuous and unsuspecting third young Miss Bai. It would be strange if these young ladies did not feel depressed. Under the various gazes, Huang Yueli stayed indifferent. Slowly she picked up a cup of tea. Drinking the tea, she watched the surrounding situation. She had become accustomed to the longing and looks of jealousy from her past life. Before long, Bairuachi also arrived. She had just come back from Empress Shu's place. Her blood-stained clothes were replaced with a fresh flowery pink dress. Paired with a thick silk brocade and sophisticated embroidery, she looked rosy. Moreover, due to eating advanced pills, her face had also returned to normal. Raising her chin slightly, she looked cold and proud. Gracefully, she walked through the palace as arrogant and proud as before. If they had not witnessed the past events, no one would believe that she was kneeling desperately and kowtowing to the Empress Dowager half an hour ago. As Bairuachi walked closer, she discovered that Huang Yueli was actually in the first position. Her face has changed. She stared fiercely at Huang Yueli. Third sister, are you in the wrong place? How could it be? Huang Yueli blinked innocently. You rarely enter the palace, so you do not know the rules in the palace. Seating position are arranged. Not only would it be shameful when you sit in the wrong position, it may also provoke the dragon's wrath. Do not blame elder sister for not warning you in advance. You can also listen on. But I was taken to this position by a palace lady. I did not choose it myself. What? Bairuachi exclaimed in surprise. How is it possible? At this moment, the lady in waiting interrupted. Second young Miss Bai, your seat is below third young Miss Bai. Please hurry and take your seat as the banquet is about to begin. Bairuachi could not believe her ears. This waist actually climbed above her head. Does the emperor really intend to fulfill that year's verbal agreement? No, I cannot be. Even if the emperor holds this intention, the crown prince would not accept a waste as his imperial concubine. Thinking of this, Bairuachi felt a little relieved. Giving Huang Yueli a glare, she said, "There is a lot of pressure sitting in the first position. Since this is the first time you have entered the palace, please do not make a blunder, third sister, for it will lose face for our Wu Wei manner." Huang Yueli smiled and said, "Second sister, please rest assured. No matter how shameful my future blunders will be, they will not be more shameful than your incident at the peach blossom orchard. So the people here will definitely not notice." Choking back, Bairuachi's face suddenly turned beet red. If this were a private setting, she would have long sent out a slap and send her flying. She will let this trash know that trash is not qualified to speak such words. Unfortunately, there were many watchful eyes. She could not do this to her cousin. Ignoring her pig liver expression, Huang Yueli went to personally pour her a cup of tea. "Second sister, please drink some tea. Do not worry, I do not have the habit of drugging my drinks. There is absolutely no problem." This damn girl really knew how to anger a person to death, but doing so without a single obscene word. Bairuachi nearly stood up in a fit of anger. But at this instant, the palace of peace and tranquility filled with the echoing voices of the eunuchs, inviting the various royalties to enter the palace. "Respects to His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. Respects to His Royal Highness Prince Yu. Respects to..." In accordance of seniority, the various princes entered the palace. The numerous aristocratic young ladies immediately stood up to pay their respects. Almost everyone's sight fell on the protagonist of today's banquet, the powerful and noble crown prince's body. Dressed in a beige tunic, his clothes were decorated with 4-clawed dragons, while the crown princes stood in a handsomely tall and straight posture, the symbol of a prince's nobility and glory. In contrast, the other princes were all similarly adorned in all-black tunics and silver pythons patterning their robes. Like the moon and stars, it served to highlight the crown prince from the rest. Many girls held their breath, and not blink of an eyelid. They watched the crown prince and subconsciously displayed their most attractive posture. They hoped to catch the crown prince's attention to make him notice them. Previously, every lady assumed they would be unable to obtain the position of imperial concubine for themselves. But how they to know? A scandal involving Bairuachi bullying her cousin would suddenly ensue. Not only was it severely criticized by the Empress Dowager, she might even be punished. This rekindled hope in the others. With Bairuachi gone, then they maybe could replace her. Closely following behind His Royal Highness the Crown Prince was His Royal Highness Prince Yu. As always, he was unparalleled and handsome, even amongst the other princes wearing the same style of clothes. Even if he deliberately held back his charisma and pretended to be withered, it held no effect. This was not enough to cover up his unparalleled and limitless charms. Even though the ladies adored the crown prince, many also attracted by his appearance. Involuntarily, they stared at him. You can also listen on. However, most people soon realized that His Royal Highness Prince Yu was a wastrel of a prince, not a suitable partner. So they quickly forced their gazes back to the crown prince. What if the crown prince noticed them? They could not let the crown prince think they had two hearts, a superficial woman who is attracted to appearance. Only Huang Yueli did not give the crown prince a single glance. From beginning to end, she gazed only at His Royal Highness Prince Yu. She only caught a glimpse of him in the morning and did not see properly. Upon closer inspection now, she discovered he was a lot thinner, his expression more frigid, while a trace of gauntness could be seen in his handsome face. For a master of this level, Prince Yu is very sensitive to the attention of others. Huang Yueli's gaze on him. How could he not be aware? However, he did not spare her a moment's glance. He went straight to his seat, sitting down blankly. The crown prince turned his head, seemingly speaking a few words to him. Prince Yuang nodded his head in response. Lazily, he glanced at the girls under the platform, staying no more than a second on Huang Yueli. Instead, He looked at Bairuachi a few times, revealing a thoughtful look. Huang Yueli unexpectedly felt a little uncomfortable at this. What the hell? Although the two had separated on bad notes that night, arguing in a slightly disagreeable terms. Okay then, it was very disagreeable, but he does not need to do that either. Not even giving her a glance, as if they were complete strangers. Just that day before, he undoubtedly vowed he would use his utmost means to pursue her. Every single time he saw her, those obvious fiery eyes almost seemed to burn her. So much she could not help but want to escape. So how did they, in a blink of an eye, become so cold? When Prince Yu looked at her with his eyes, there was no difference from his gaze to others. Of course, he did nothing wrong. After all, he was the rejected party. A stalker is not a gentleman. Pulling away to create distance is the appropriate move. But Huang Yueli bit her lip, not realizing that her facial expression had become extremely ugly. The just plotted against third young miss by who kept her cool was now trembling from anger. Her trembling hands nearly knocked over the teacup on the table. As she looked at Bairuachi, she quickly gave herself an excuse to explain everything. Well, yes, even if Prince Yu had given up her, he still couldn't stare at Bairuachi. Was there something wrong with this man's eyes? How could he like such an insidious woman like Bairuachi? As a friend of His Royal Highness Prince Yu, could they be counted as friends? Of course, she cannot allow Prince Yu to be bewitched by women like Bairuachi. As Huang Yueli thought about this, her lips formed a straight line. If Prince Yu is truly interested in Bairuachi, she will use all methods to stop him. There were a total of 6 attending princes. From the crown prince down, none of them had selected their imperial concubines yet. As the several princes took their seats, the young ladies also returned to their seats. I did not expect that 6 Royal Highness would personally attend today. It seems that today's banquet will be very lively. This voice was a bit familiar to the ears. Huang Yueli turned around, and it was second young Miss Qi Tanger from General Jinan's manor. The little trumpet who was famed throughout the capital for loving nothing more than to spread and discuss gossip. And because General Jinan is a firm powerhouse of South Yu, Qi Tanger's seat was also at the very front. She sat right behind by Ruoqi and Lu Yi, coming in fourth. You can also listen on. Qi Tanger's popularity has always been quite good. Hearing her speak, the various ladies seated behind and in front gathered at her side. Elder Sister Qi, you often enter the palace. You must know these highnesses. We have not seen the world, thus do not know the situations regarding these princes. So could educate us on the overall situation? That's right, second young Miss Qi do share. Quite apparently, Qi Tanger enjoyed the feeling of being surrounded and fawned upon. First, she looked at the seated princes and found their distance to be very large. Whatever she said would not be heard by them. Triumphantly, she began her tales. Crown Prince Li Majuan, needless to say, we all know he is #1 genius of South Yu. Moreover, he is student of Heavenly Star College, a well-known genius. Plus, with his noble identity of Crown Prince and handsome looks, it remains unknown which lucky girl will become his imperial concubine. Yes, the Crown Prince is really amazing. If one could marry His Royal Highness, even as a minor concubine, would also a great honor. When Bairuachi heard these words, she raised her chin slightly, feeling proud inside. She still felt that she would certainly become the imperial concubine. So when she heard admiration of these young girls, she felt she had gained great face. The Crown Prince was such a dragon amongst men. Only she Bairuachi can match him. Currently, people were not too optimistic about her chances, but when the imperial concubine selection results come out, look how shocked these people will become. Full of envy. Just thinking of this makes one chuckle secretly. Stealing a glance at her, Huang Yueli became all the more sure that Bairuachi still held a hidden blade. After a whispering of praises, Qi Tanger continued to speak. At the Crown Prince's side, Prince Yu, Li Moying, did you not just see him in the peach blossom orchid? Prince Yu's grace is definitely at the top, if not for insider news, just based on his looks alone. Even the crown prince would be defeated by him. Alas, you can say that Prince Yu's life is quite bad. Turns out the taboo name of Prince Yu is Li Moying-ah. This name is very fitting. His Royal Highness Prince Yu looks really good. Several girls were fascinated by Prince Yu's face, sighing with regret. So what? Are you willing to marry a waste? Chi Tanger asked. After listening to this, the girls immediately fell silent again. That is also, forget it, even if I become a minor concubine of His Highness the Crown Prince, this would still be much better than marrying Prince Yu. Mouth-hooking slightly, Huang Yueli revealed a gloating smile. Do not think that Prince Yuang would receive such evaluation. What kind of will he show after hearing this? However, up until now, she did not know that the man's name was Li Moying. The first thought she thought of when she heard his name was, he also had the word shadow. What a coincidence. But soon, Huang Yueli shook her head with vigor. What was she thinking? Why did she constantly confuse Prince Yu with Mu Qingying? Was it because the two people have similar eyes? She really should be more clear-headed. Prince Yu is not Mu Qingying's substitute. At this moment, a trace of sneer hung on by Ruochi's mouth. Third sister, I finally know why the emperor called you to the palace today. Turns out there is a waste prince in this palace as well, Gee, it matches you perfectly. Waste should marry waste. Surprised for a moment, Huang Yueli then smiled and said, Are you saying that you, second sister, despises His Royal Highness Prince Yu? You can also listen on. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.